Hello, hi. My name is Wong Chun. I'm the Group Chief Editor of The Star. With us today is Mr. George Kohlrieser. He's a wonderful expert on leadership. He's a writer. He's been what do you call it? He's given a lot of inspiring stories, and he's a sort of a guru on management. He has written a latest book. It's called Hostage at the Table, and he has been awarded the best business book for the year 2007. Hi, welcome to Malaysia.
Good morning.
Welcome to The Star.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be here.
Yes, I believe that when your name is mentioned, hostage negotiator comes to mind. Could you please tell us about experience in this particular area?
Okay. Yeah, it's not a normal profession, I would think. People don't normally meet that many hostage negotiators. Okay. What actually happened is that early in my career, I worked as a hostage negotiator and have done so for some 35 years. And what I have done was take the concepts of what is used in hostage negotiation and brought them into leadership. And part of what a good hostage negotiator has to do is talk to someone who is not the most pleasant or likable person. You form a relationship, you convince them to give up their weapons, give up their hostages, come out knowing they're probably going to go to prison. And we get about a 95% success rate. And leaders don't come near to that, because the idea behind this is that leaders must be able to influence, change a mindset, just like in a hostage negotiation, and get that 95% success rate. So leaders often are taken hostage by their own people around them or situations, or even by their own beliefs or emotions. So my goal is to help leaders find that personal power and influence that they can lead organizations, lead teams, lead individuals to be successful.
I understand that you have been involved in been taken as a hostage yourself. Could you share with us your experiences?
Absolutely. I've been hostage 4 times, not because I was stupid or not because I was exchanging myself, but in the early days before we actually had hostage negotiation teams in the late 60s in the States, I was working in domestic violence, which meant I would go with police, they would take the weapons away, and then myself or a team member would talk to people, if they were willing, to try to get them help, to reduce the killing and the homicides in families. In one situation, I was held in a hospital emergency room after we needed somebody to go in to talk to a man who held the nurse hostage. The lieutenant asked me if I would do that. Well, not being so good at risk assessment, I said okay. And I had to engage him to take the scissors away, and he actually cut her throat.
I see, okay.
So she was bleeding, not her jugular, but it was a very dramatic moment of her facing death, screaming, because she believed she was going to die, to get him to let her go. And he switched with the scissors on her to putting it onto me. Mm-hmm. And over the next hour and a half, he agreed to give up his scissors. He did not hurt me. He allowed me to handcuff him and walk out, and with a smile say thank you. Oh. Because this process was really about understanding his grief about his children. That provoked it. Mm-hmm. And when he could see the benefit, and we talked about his kids, and I talked about my kids, we formed this bond, and he gave up, even though he knew he was going to go to prison, because he saw a greater benefit. These are the principles that leaders can learn to be effective in influencing people. And see, the secret now of leadership is not telling people what to do. The secret of good leadership is influencing them to make the right choices, to be fully engaged on a team, and then you have this full involvement. That's the goal of leadership today.
When you mentioned about this negotiation thing, and you try to apply it to leadership and management, do you feel that when it comes to negotiating, that perhaps that one of the weaknesses of CEOs and leaders is that they do not listen enough, but they do most of the talking? When it comes to hostage, dealing with hostage, is it essential to listen more than to talk, perhaps?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Maybe you've heard the expression, God gave us 2 ears and 1 tongue for one main reason. Listen more, right, talk less. No, the way that you get somebody to change their mind and their mindset is asking the right question.
Okay.
So what we train leaders to do is talk less, ask more questions. Mm-hmm. And then when you speak with a more inner authority, because many leaders, they try to persuade people in the wrong way by telling them or sort of coercing them. The real secret is getting people to think, engaging them, and creating that bond. So you're absolutely right. Speak less, listen more.
Are you still involved in police work, as part of your
Yes.
what you do?
Yes, a minority. It's about 10% of what I do is still involved in hostage negotiation, more in consulting or debriefings. My primary job is working as a professor at IMD in Lausanne, Switzerland, teaching leadership and organizational behavior.
Should you elaborate on what you do at IMD, perhaps?
Well, I'm there teaching leadership in open enrollment programs.
Okay.
I have direct the high performance leadership. It's a 6-day, highly intensive program based on the principles in the book. And then I also work with the partner organizations of IMD on leadership, and such as here with Kazana, which has created a partnership with IMD in order to bring myself to teach leadership and one of my colleagues to teach corporate governance to the chairman, board members, potential board members of the government-linked companies of Kazana.
Your book has been a roaring success. It's been awarded the best business book for 2007. Could you explain a little bit and say something about the book?
Yes, thank you for the question on this, because really it's about 7 pillars, what I would call 7 pillars. One is to understand that if you want to be successful at leading, to really reach highest levels with yourself and with other people, you have to learn to focus the mind. And this is a challenge today. People don't take enough time to reflect. They don't take enough time to focus and concentrate on where they're going. Distractions are everywhere. Even more significant is understanding that the brain, and I'd say the cutting edge of leadership understanding now is knowing how the brain functions, how people function. And the secret of good leadership is, can I understand people and help inspire them? So the brain is naturally negative until we learn how to focus on something positive. That's what leaders have to do, themselves and with others. Number 2, the pillar of creating this bond and understanding that behind the relationship, people and organizations are going to experience disappointment, frustration, change. And so leaders have to help them see the benefit of a change. We know people do not naturally resist change, even though many are taught this way, because the brain seeks challenge. The brain seeks stimulation. Like yourself, if you look at your career, I'm sure there were many times where you went for challenge. And this will only happen if the 3rd pillar is their secure basis, building trust. And you see, if a leader is not trustable, you're never going to be able to be a high-performing leader. And then you move into this, what we call social intelligence, how to talk, how to persuade, how to influence, how to negotiate. And there are many leaders who do not know how to ask questions to get into a dialogue. They're not good at making concessions in a negotiation. And as a result, they discourage people rather than inspire them. Around the world now, we know there's catastrophic failure of engagement. Anywhere from 7 to 22%, depending on the country, of people who are disengaged. But if you've got a good leader, you can actually have a team or an organization that may be 80, 90, even 100% engaged. But it won't happen if people are held hostage psychologically. And you need a leader there who creates that bond, creates that relationship, and work together.
Speaking of the world financial crisis which we are facing now, do you feel that this hostage and the mine situation would become more serious, perhaps from the employee point of view? The anxiety and the worry of losing his job, the inability to pay off the mortgages, and while from the leadership point of view, the inability to lead and to provide answers, would the problem become much serious?
Oh my goodness, it is unbelievable what's happening. The fear, I mean the panic. I mean, if you look at newspapers and in your own newspaper where you're reporting what's going on around the world, people are in panic. It is no longer a rational process. And this will go down as one of the biggest failed leadership processes of our generation. The boards, the CEOs, the chairman, who did not look at what was going on with the subprime mortgage process, this swapping of credits. But even worse to come is the catastrophic derivative paying back that's going to happen within a short time. And you see, I think what we need now is to rebuild trust. And you know, you can have 1,000 positives, but one negative will break the trust. I think we've seen people lose trust in the financial systems.
Right.
When banks won't lend to other banks, it's a catastrophic moment because you dry up all the liquidity. So now we have to start the process of going back and rebuilding. And to understand this, I think the whole process of what is called behavioral economics, which is that fear drives people's choices more than benefit. If you see a benefit, it's only a small portion of people who will actually choose that benefit. Most are driven by fear.
Yeah.
And this is how the organizations got into this in the beginning. Greed. They were afraid to be left out.
Yeah.
So rather than pay attention to this risk signs all over the place, they went for what they didn't want to miss rather than for the benefits. And there were some banks who did not do this. There were some banks who knew it's too good to be true.
Yeah.
And the leadership said, no, we will not get into this. We will not be overtaken by the greed and the failure of the boards to really understand what was going on, especially in this derivative process.